Please note that the views expressed on this program are those of the individuals who speak them, and not necessarily those of Portsmouth Community Radio, its Board of Trustees, members, volunteers, or underwriters. Good evening and welcome to Spirit Radio. I am your host, Willy Hassell. Along with my co-host, Lynn Nickerson, we will take you on a journey into the unknown where the paranormal becomes the normal. A journey to a world cloaked in darkness where reality becomes a thin veil. So sit back, relax, and join us as we venture into the shadows, the darkness, the unknown, and back. And good evening once again, and welcome to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience. This is the show where the paranormal becomes the normal. I am your host, Willy Hassell, your gatekeeper to the dark side, your guide to the realm of the unknown, the unseen, the unthinkable. And of course, as always, right alongside me here, she is the mystical, the lovely, the mysterious Lynn Nickerson.
Once again, it's a pleasure to see you, Willie. How are you doing?
Somebody said it's a pleasure to see me. Wow. This is my lucky day. I'm doing good, Lynn. How are you doing?
Oh, just fine, thanks.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So we've incited a lot of interest tonight with our guest.
We have. Well, hey, we have a good guest tonight.
Yes, a very interesting one. Very unusual.
We were supposed to have two guests, but unfortunately, one of them is feeling a little under the weather.
Yes.
And we wish that, hope that she's feeling
Yeah, we certainly do. Hope she feels better
real soon. And so, why don't I go ahead and introduce?
Okay.
And tonight, it is our pleasure to welcome to the show Audrey Hewins, along with her sister Debbie, have a lifetime of alien encounters and abduction experiences. Of their own. Oh, okay. I wrote it and I can't read it. And they wanted to help the many other experiences. So Starborn Support was founded by Audrey and Debbie to help other people who share alien encounter or abduction experiences to come to terms with the impact of these understudied paranormal phenomena. With a home base in northern New England, they now have 12 chapters along the east coast of the United States, as well as chapters in the UK, Latin America, and Colombia. And they will also be hosting the Experiences Speak Conference in Portland, Maine on September 6th and 7th. And please welcome to the show, Audrey Hewins. Good evening, Audrey.
Welcome, Audrey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good, we're doing good.
I can hear you pretty well. Willie's a little bit static. I don't know if that's going to be a problem. Can you hear me okay?
You're good. Willie static?
Yep. I can, well,
yeah.
I've been told that before.
You're loud and clear, and for some reason, you're a little bit static.
Well, we can hear you fine, so
All right,
so hopefully.
I guess that's all that matters.
Okay.
Maybe we could switch mics if it keeps up doing that.
Yes, it's pretty quiet in my house, so pay attention and listen carefully.
Well, we have a bunch of questions we wanted to ask you. You have such an interesting life. It may not be fun at times, but I think a lot of people need to know what you've been going through. I wanted to ask you, how did you manage to set up all of the different chapters for Starborn Support?
Well, it just kind of grew on its own. It was originally started by me in 2006, and it was a website and a phone number, pretty much, and I would work with people that would call in, and, it just kept getting bigger, and I found I needed more help. So I had, I think, who was first? A good friend of mine that has been close to my sister and I, Debbie Paiva, joined us about a year later, and she began doing the research part of what we were doing, and just looking into the people's cases. We don't really do investigations and research for public knowledge. It's more for the individual to help them out. So, say they had an encounter on a certain date, we'll, look into it and see if there was any reports that day, or, if anybody else had, any encounters in their area. We also look into the military aspect of their location, if there's a base nearby. If there's family members in, with military backgrounds, we get all that kind of information and try to put it together. And we're also doing genealogy, so we're trying to do family trees to try to, see what the commonality between us all is. So, just looking into so many different things, it's really fascinating once you begin to put the pieces together. But let's see, I had been really close with Kathy Martin and Peter Robbins. And Peter Robbins had ran into my partner now. He's the head of the Pennsylvania chapter. His name is Michael Austin Melton, and he is our PTSD expert, and he's a psychologist, and he's really just been amazing because, of course, this is a very traumatic thing that happened.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's a lot of fear involved. So,
it changes lives.
The individual, helping them with the fear and the post-traumatic stress stuff is important. So from there, he pulled in a team of his own, and then, we just had so many people coming forward and wanting to help, and just through people that we knew, we'd get, so-and-so wanted to help in this state. So, we looked into their backgrounds and a little bit to see, what they could offer. But we have a lot of, different kinds of therapies, and we like to refer each case on an individualized basis. So I'll do the intake, and then we decide what they need and what their area is. And, our goal is to have a group in every state at some point, because, it is helpful to be able to do the support groups and be able to, actually work one-on-one with someone. We do a lot of work through Skype and the phone, but it is, much better to be, up close and personal. So, yeah, it's just kind of grown from there, and, it seems to be really catching on, and, there's a lot of need for it. There's people coming forward every day.
I would imagine.
All over the world.
Is it nonprofit, Audrey?
You'd be surprised in how many people there are.
Audrey, is it nonprofit, or how are you subsidized?
Yeah, we're doing a nonprofit, and I do it all, myself. I did for a long time. Just and we do our conference once a year, which is Experience or Speak, and we're hoping that will be, starting to help us get some money in, because we do have to travel, and all the services that we offer are free of charge. So, it's really just a pro bono thing that we all do from our hearts. But, yeah, it does cost money to do these things.
Oh, sure.
So, we take donations. And like I said, the conference, this will be our third year, and it's starting to become established. And I think, after this year, it should start making a profit that we will put into not only the conference, but our services that we offer. And I'm also joining with Steve Fermani out of Massachusetts, and we're going to be starting a Northeast Conference group to bring conferences to the states on the Northeast, because it seems, most of these conferences and the educational groups are, out west. So we're going to, start on the East Coast and, bring education and, try to teach people. A lot of people just don't think about it. If it's not in your life, then they just dismiss it. But it's such an important thing. I mean, this is the biggest thing to happen to mankind in recorded history, and people need to be made aware of it.
It's life altering.
We've got the governments and shadow governments, and whoever they may be, for at least 60 years, or since Roswell, over 60 years, covering this up. And they've done a good job at it. It's gotten to the point where there'll be 1,000 UFO sightings, and they can do one hoax, and that's enough for most people to say, "Oh, that's just a hoax." So it is, I guess, kind of a brainwashing with people to be able to just dismiss it like that is just silly. There's so many.
We are well conditioned, I guess.
Yeah, we were talking last week about social conditioning against UFOs, and that they're doing a pretty good job. Would you mind if we got?
Yeah, you can't really hide it anymore. It's getting harder. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got cameras. So
that's true.
The sightings are happening all the time, and it's a sad thing. But not a lot of people know what the real sky looks like without light pollution. People come out here to Maine and they look at the sky and they're like, "What is that?" And I said, "Well, that's the Milky Way without the light pollution." So. It's just, a lot of people just don't look up anymore either. They're all busy looking at their phones,
That's
their
true.
TVs, and
you got to take time to look
go
up
out at night to just gaze up at the stars. But there's a lot of activity up there if you just take the time and find a location to witness it.
Could we ask you a couple of personal questions about your encounters? Would you mind?
Oh, sure. I have an identical twin sister, like you said before. I'm lucky. Because I could not imagine going through this by myself. I've always had someone to talk to, that believed me and that was there with me. So it was definitely good support.
It started when you were.
There's a lot of twins in this abduction field. It's really, you think about it, and there's so many different theories. But if they're going to do some kind of genetic work, they do. Go through family lines. We've had one case that we could trace back a good 300-400 years, back generations of people claiming that they were being visited and taken by extraterrestrials in this one family.
And what was the family line, Audrey? What was their heritage?
Well, we go back. There's always some kind of Native American heritage. We've been, trying to put all that together. But it seems like there's a lot of Native American heritage, and there's a lot of military families. And in almost all cases, the abductees live near a military base.
I've heard that, too.
It's such a huge subject. And, it seems like the more questions you get answers, the more questions you have. So it's just endless. But for some reason, the military or the shadow government, whoever they may be, are interested in abductees as well.
Let me ask you.
There's a phenomenon called MyLab, which is military abductions, and lots of experiencers report that. So, whatever is going on, somebody here in the human race is very well aware of it.
Audrey, if you could stop for Audrey.
Most people start at very early childhood. My sister and I, our first memories are of, the grays coming in at night. And we kept journals as kids, and very detailed. And my mother had picked one of these journals up and, thumbed through it. And my sister had drawn pictures of who we called the bald men.
Audrey, excuse me, Audrey, just a second.
The bald men were coming, and they just, couldn't understand it and said, it's just a dream. There's no such thing. And, that's when it starts becoming confusing, too, especially to children, because it's real, it's happening, and then you're told it's not. So that's when the fear actually starts setting in. Because in the early days, it was, just a normal thing for us. We thought everybody, got visits by these bald men at night. And, we didn't know any different until we were told that it wasn't real. But
Audrey?
again, we had each other. So my mother had looked through the journals and was in the grocery store back in the 80s when Whitley Strieber's book Communion came out, and saw the cover of the book and realized that that was the same being that was in our journals. So that was her first hint as to what was going on. So, we kind of kept it, to ourselves once we, were told it wasn't real, and just kind of, they just kind of brushed it off. So we would, talk to each other and just dealt with this. And we had no idea about aliens. We didn't know what these things were. We never watched TV when we were little. We were, in the middle of nowhere, Athens, Ohio, and outside from when the sun came up and the sun went down, we'd be outside playing, and these days kids just don't have that, imagination. I mean, we just go out and enjoy nature and come back in. So, we weren't ever into the science fiction. People like to say that, oh, maybe they, watched a lot of movies, but no, it wasn't the case. And, back in those days, there really wasn't a lot of that out there. But, we just kind of dealt with it. And throughout the years, it kept occurring. And when we became teenagers, it became more intense because we were used for part of the hybrid program. So it became more hands-on, and the experiments would start in, taking the samples. And, it was really traumatic. But a lot of the memories are taken away, and I think that's a good thing. And, people that want to dive right into hypnosis, I always suggest that we wait and we work with them for at least a year before that, because some things just are meant to be forgotten because of the, fragile human psyche. But
Audrey, what about the creatures?
Ohio, when we were about 10 years old, and to Massachusetts, into an area called the Bridgewater Triangle. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yes, we are.
kept having these encounters, and it, just was a part of our lives. And in our early 20s, we just really had enough. We wanted to know what was going on, and started to talk to people. And we looked for someone to help us, and there really wasn't anybody out there at the time. And we ended up finding Chris Pittman, who put us in touch with a member of MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network out in Massachusetts. And we had gotten help from him, and he did the hypnosis. And like I said, it was very traumatizing. I had no idea what to expect. And then to see all this all at once, and it just really did more harm than good. So that's when the fear and the trauma set in. So, like I said, we like to work with people intensely for at least a year before that.
What about the creatures? What did they look like? Was that an actual rendition? Was it an accurate rendition?
Oh, yeah. There's many different kinds. People think, of aliens, they think of the Greys. But, yes, the Greys are the ones that are actively doing the hands-on. I like to call them the doctors and the scientists. Mm-hmm. They do the hands-on medical stuff that needs to be done. They, take the people directly from their house or wherever and bring them onto the ship. There's also many different kinds of contact, and people don't understand that. They automatically think, alien abduction is, they take you and do these horrible things, which, that's just a part of it. There's also very enlightening things that happen. There's also spiritual things and astral visits. They can take you astrally. They can communicate through visions or telepathy. They don't have to take you. The abductions are only when they need to remove something from you or put an implant in or whatever they do to us.
But did they look like that? Did the Greys look like the ones that they represented on TV? Were they that ugly?
There's a few different kinds. The small 3.5 to 4 foot ones are very, very skinny, big heads, almond-shaped heads, big black eyes, and there's a 5.5 foot version of them, and they seem to be, the little ones seem to be kind of like the worker bees. They do, a lot of the scurrying around, and usually they have someone that seems to be their boss, which is usually one of the 5 foot, 5.5 foot beings. They come in, they use some kind of mind control. They do immobilize you. You cannot move. You can't, pretty much, you can't move anything but your eyes, and usually you're so scared your eyes are shut. But, and it is not just the way they look. They have this energy about them, which is very hard to get used to. After all these years and doing what I do, you think that, I'd be a little desensitized. But no, I mean, it's very, very scary because of the energies.
What is it
only way
like?
I can describe it is it's like they're looking into your soul, and they've got complete control over you, both physically and mentally. So it's just a very intense feeling that takes, I don't know if people ever get used to it. I'm going to be working with Denise Stoner, and I talked to Kathy Martin the other day, and what they do is when they put somebody under hypnosis, they will give them some kind of key words to help alleviate the fear. So they embed that into your psyche while you're under hypnosis. So when they come and you're into that, fight or flight, you feel like a little bunny caught in a trap, fear part, you can say these words, and they are supposed to really have a calming effect. So I'm looking forward to working with her after the conference and seeing how she does that, and if that will help me. And then I will use it with the experiencers I work with. It's a great idea, and if it works, then it's so worth it. Because, like I said, the fear kind of controls us, and obviously they're very, very small. They're fragile. You can hurt them. So they pretty much. I guess it's like when we go into it and take a tiger out of the wild. We want to immobilize them and get in as quick as possible without traumatizing too much and putting them back.
Yeah.
So, but when you get over that fear, and I've had several instances where I was able to overcome it, then the enlightening part happens. There's also human-looking beings. I guess many of them, people refer to them as the angels. They do have a glow about them. They look like us. They have just amazing eyes, and they're just really, they have a great energy about them. There's nothing that's too overwhelming. If anything, it's love, complete love. And they work with them too, but they don't do the hands-on stuff. They teach the classes. I've been in a class with one of them teaching us, and I had a chance to ask them, as I was looking around, and I'm in a classroom full of people, and they're all speaking different languages, but everybody understood each other.
That's interesting.
And I asked the teacher, what the point was of teaching us everything, if only to forget it when we're returned. And they said, everything you need to know is laying dormant inside you and will activate when the time comes. And, ever since they told me that, it's happening. Things just are starting to make sense. People are coming together. It's amazing what's going on in the experiencer world. We have this connection to one another. We like to refer to ourselves as a soul family or a soul tribe, because we can be in a crowded stadium and there's another experiencer there. We can, sense that.
Oh, really?
Somebody's there. So it's an amazing connection. And
who
that's
activates
why we
it?
started the conference. The more human-like ones came to me and told me it was time to do that. And they also asked me to start Starborn Support. So this isn't something that, I actually jumped up and said, hey, this is what I'm going to do with my life. It's, kind of a direction that I was given and accepted it, because at the time when we needed help, there was really nobody out there to help. And there's so many people in need, and they are starting to remember and starting to activate and look for answers and kind of being led to one another. So it's an amazing awakening that's going on.
Is this something that they activate within you at the right time, or is this sort of a timing thing within you that gets activated?
Well, they said everything that we need to know lay dormant and will activate when the time comes.
Okay.
And, you know, if you ask them, it's the frustrating part, it's most frustrating, is you ask them questions and they just say, we can't tell you that, you have to find out on your own, which I don't know if it's free will thing or, you know, if it just makes us stronger or if, you know, we actually knew everything, you know, it would change things, but they leave little breadcrumbs. You know, there's like a trail that they leave, and they'll give you hints, and when you're on the right path, you know it. And I can't really explain it, but it's like this rush of energy when you do something and you know that that's what they, you know, wanted you to do. And,
yeah.
You know, you're kind of led there. And like I said, there's little breadcrumbs, and we all come together. There was another group or another man that was activated. And, you know, he was, you know, a lawyer out of Miami and never thought twice about this kind of thing. And he called me up, and he's starting this amazing movement, which he'll be speaking about at Experiencers Speak. But he told me that these beings came to him and told him to do this, and I was just listening and saying, okay, you know, they did that to me too. Let's see what else he says. And he says, well, they showed me this wheel with all these symbols on it. And I just stopped short right there. I said, wait a minute, Ray. And I pulled out my journals, and I had a picture of that very same wheel in my journal, and I took a picture on my phone and sent it to him. So, you know, he's being told to do things by the exact same beings that I am, of showing us the same things. So it's really, really interesting. And as things are starting to unfold, things are starting to make sense. And, you know, it has to, because this planet and the human race where we're at, it's you know, self-destruct pretty much, you know, and the planet's in trouble, and other beings out there are not going to let the planet be destroyed.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Okay, we're going to have to hold you right there for a couple of minutes, okay, Audrey, at the bottom of the hour. We have to take a little break here, and we'll be right back, okay? And welcome back to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience on WSCA 106.1 in Portsmouth's West End. And from the community calendar, the Seacoast Repertory Theater. The Seacoast Repertory Theater is dedicated to the presentation of professional theater productions and to the education of the region's young people. Ushers are needed for the main stage and youth productions on evenings and weekends. Volunteers will work with a variety of backgrounds and ages. For further information, contact Judy Curry, at Marketing Director, at 603-433-4793, or at Judy, that's Judi, at seacoastrep.org. And you have a couple of announcements, Lynn?
And programming on Portsmouth Community Radio is made possible by you, our members, and by the Music Hall, an American treasure for the arts. It's the Seacoast Performing Arts Center that entertains 100,000 patrons annually on Chestnut Street in Portsmouth. Schedule and other information is available at themusichall.org. And we also have an upcoming guest list here. Next week, August 16th, we're pleased to welcome back our good friend Jeremy D'Entremont. He's founder of the Friends of the Portsmouth Lighthouses, and he will once again be joining us in the studio for his wonderful tales of the haunted lighthouses of the New England coast. August 23rd is an open date right now. Willie and I will be having a discussion of something very interesting.
And fascinating.
On August 30th, joining us in the studio will be paranormal investigator Shane Sorois. On September 6th, Roxy Zwicker will be joining us again. She's a local author of many fascinating books on ghosts and spirit legends of the Seacoast area, and she'll be joining us here in the studio for her second appearance. On September 13th, we welcome back Brad Olson, and he joins us once again to discuss his latest book, The Esoteric Series. September 20th is another... Well, we have a surprise guest,
and we're not going to tell you yet.
And whose identity will be revealed in the very near future. And then September 27th, we've got author William Hall, and he'll be joining us here to discuss his new book, The World's Most Haunted House, which is a true story of the 1974 poltergeist haunting on Lindley Street in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So that is our upcoming guest list.
Okay, and I just want to mention on the August 30th one there, Shane Sorois.
Yes, the Shane Sorois.
Is sponsoring the True Paranormal Event 2014, a celebration of advanced understanding in the paranormal field. And that's on September 20th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the speakers there are going to be Paul and Ben Eno, and William Hall, who we just mentioned is an upcoming guest. And Spirit Radio is also going to be there. We're going to have a table there, so come on by and say hello.
Terrific. So, and we welcome back our guest, Audrey Hewins.
Okay, Audrey.
Hi.
Hi, Audrey. Welcome back.
Sorry.
There. Can you hear us okay?
Any more questions? I mean, there's so much to cover. I've got 41 years of things that have happened, and it just seems like there's always something new to cover.
Can you explain that wheel situation? What exactly was that wheel about with the symbols?
Well, from what I've learned, it has all the symbols that were on it has to do with quantum physics.
Oh.
And we're actually working with some amazing people coming together and studying the phenomena that is abduction, but also the experiencer. And what we're finding is we all get, we have like a piece of the puzzle in us. Not one of us has all the answers.
Okay.
And I think they do this for our own protection as well as theirs. And, when they said that things would activate, it seems to be happening. Some of us will get messages. We get various things that happen when we get communications. We can have visual messages. We can have messages through telepathy. There can be, dream-like. But, they'll be just talking to you. And say they'll give you just this random thing that doesn't make sense. and then you work with others, and you're talking to others, and they, have another piece of that message. So it is a big puzzle that we're starting to put together.
Is it a collaborative effort
we're working with, some of the top physicists, astronauts, and there's some amazing people coming together on this.
Is it several species working together, Audrey?
The contactee and like the psychic abilities, the predictions and prophecies, and then and they're comparing, because near-death studies are very interesting, and a lot of the near-death experience is very much like some of the ET encounters that the experiencers are having. So to study it as a whole and to try to explain it to people that need to see it in black and white. So the wheel supposedly is, quantum physics, and it's all tied together, by quantum physics, and to, try to put that together is, it's an amazing thing, because there's obvious things like, just he and I being showed that same thing and being told to start our groups and now being led together. And then there's others that are coming to us as well. It's, and it's amazing, because I always ask people, how they found us, and there's always some amazing set of circumstances, and the high strangeness and synchronicity that surrounds us is, you just can't make this up. I mean, it's so amazing, and to watch it coming all together is exciting and great to be a part of. It's exhausting, but they came to me in 2006, and they told me, they said, you're ready to start a group, and they told me that I needed to call it Starborn Support. They said that someday the world would know who we are, we would help many people, and everybody involved with us would become ambassadors for the planet. So, he was given his own messages, and, in 2012, they came to me and told me that I needed to do the conference, and they told me, pretty much what to do, what to call it, same idea. And it seems like every year, the conference itself is a beacon that is attracting people that need to come together. So it's a gathering of like minds, but it's also a place where things start to make sense. We have been logging all the visions and all the messages, and when you get these visions, and they're people that are predicting, natural disasters and things that are happening in politics and war, and you have it written down, and you have it date stamped somewhere on the computer, and the events happen. It's something that people need to pay attention to, because obviously, we're being told and shown things for a reason, and to dismiss it so easily without even, giving, the whole phenomenon any research. There's so many people who are just dead set against it, but have they done the research? Do they know the numbers? Have they, looked at the statistics? Have they, listened to the experiencers? And if they haven't, they should, because it's important what's going on right now on this planet, and the experiencers are going to make a difference, and, they are coming together to do what we're here to do. A lot of people, call themselves as experiencers. We like to use that term because, like I was saying earlier, there's many forms of contact. Not all contactees are abductees, but all abductees are contactees. They abduct those of us who they've been, using as, for genetic research or for the hybrid programming or whatever they're doing. But we're all here on this planet now, and awakening and coming together. So that's just, something that I sometimes have trouble wrapping my head around too, because it is such a fantastic, huge thing that's going on. And to start putting these things together and to make sense of everything is, what all of us want and what needs to happen.
Do you find, Audrey?
I started the conference in 2012, and I think it was around then that, we really started picking up and our group started expanding. But to bring everybody together in the place that, they, some people have never met another one, and they've been so sheltered and so alone. But, this year we've got people flying in from Peru, from Mexico, from Europe, from Canada, all over the States to be part of this. And it's going to be a fantastic year. And it's a perfect place to learn about this. If you have questions, come to the conference, listen, pay attention. And maybe, learn a little bit. And we've just got a fantastic lineup with so many amazing stories and, a whole weekend to learn. So, people need to start opening their minds. They need to realize that, the ETs are real. Even the Vatican is starting to admit these things. In
True.
2008, I think it was, the Pope said it was okay to believe in extraterrestrials, that God wouldn't limit his creativeness to just one planet, and that he would expand it. Our Pope now said that if any alien ever came and knocked on his door and asked to be baptized, he would baptize them. We're, letting a little bit out of the time. And
I heard that.
I think that the public has been desensitized for many, many years, at least, again, since Roswell, when they, had the crashed vehicle, and they definitely made contact and started to either work with them or, reverse engineer technology. You just got to look at the jump from, that day till now in just technology. And there's, it's just a huge jump. And
okay, we got to.
In 100 years, just look at how far we've come with the technology.
We got to hold you for
there
just
is
another
free energy out there, and I think the ETs have shown them this. But of course, we've got those in power and the elite who would lose their empire if they couldn't use oil. The same with medicines and big pharma. It's all about keeping the elite pockets lined, and they have their own agenda. So,
Audrey,
of course, doing what I do is, very dangerous and, attracts a lot of attention from the government and from whoever they are. We call them the MIBs or the Men in Black. But, I know that I'm protected and my group is protected. I'm positive of that. I think if I didn't have a near-death experience myself where I was actually saved by one of the Pleiadians or the humanoid ETs, I would have a little bit more trouble, believing and doing some of the things I do. Fear and intimidation is all that, those against us have. So when you don't have that fear and intimidation, then they have nothing over you. But they do watch me very closely. Kathleen Martin published her book with Denise Stoner last year called The Alien Abduction Files. And they write about my story and published one of the black helicopters, the unmarked helicopters that hovers over my house. And, they put that out and published it. And
it still does?
Like that. But
yeah, do you still have the helicopters around?
Go ahead.
I say, do you still have the helicopters hovering around?
Oh, yeah. They come not so much anymore, I think, since I go out, wave, take pictures, and then it got published. But, yeah, they do follow us, too, in unmarked cars.
Oh, jeez.
We see the license plates. We pay attention to that. You have to pay attention to detail. They definitely attack my phones and emails and computers, and it's just so silly. I've got nothing to hide. They don't need to sneak around, but that's what
silly.
They do.
But I imagine
that's
it's
what
kind
they've been doing for a long time. And people have died in this field. Many people, mysterious deaths, and they just set up Stan Romanek for child pornography.
Oh, I know that. I know it.
And that's, and he's one, we talked to for quite a few years before that. And I mean, we watched that process. So we know that they set him up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put his address in the paper. So, just saying, here, let's get these,
beat him up.
So what do you think's going to happen? He went to check his nail and he got beaten up.
Yep.
So it's vicious what they do. And they're just sneaky, evil, but that's a whole other story. I mean, we could have a show just on that and the things that they can do.
I've been following this Stan Romanek situation.
Obviously, I've been asked by these beings to do this, so I know that they protect me, and it has happened several times. Like I said, one of them saved me from drowning in Daytona.
Really?
In 2004. So, they are there and step in when our lives are in danger, and they are basically guiding us and letting us, do the work. But as we come together and our puzzle starts to put itself together, it's just amazing. This year we're having a get together at our family lake house after the conference, and it'll be all experiencers, and we're going to do a night sky watch and some CE5 work, and and see if we can get some communications and call the ETs in and at least see some light ships and stuff. It should be interesting with a group of us. If we can't do it, nobody can. Because the group is just going to be amazing. So it'll be it should be an interesting night.
Do you feel there's a collaboration between several different species?
Yes. There's I've seen, at least a dozen different species that I've seen personally. I believe too that there's two agendas with the ETs. There's a light and dark force there too. It's basically a battle between light and dark. It's a silent war. The military and the governments here. I mean, everything that's going on out there. I think a lot of that's just distraction and false flag. Hey, look over there while this is happening, type of thing. Which we know it's happened in the past. But you got to remember too that a lot of this stuff has been prophesized for many, many years through the Hopis and even other tribes and the ancients. They just found some cave art that was, I forget how old it was. I want to say 10 million years, and it had UFOs, ETs, a wormhole, all painted in this cave. And they just found that. I believe it was in India. So, this kind of thing is starting to leak out. And like I said, they're kind of desensitizing the public, and they have been for a very long time.
And we are getting short on time here, Audrey. We only have 3 minutes left.
A little bit about the conference.
Yes, please do.
It's going to be September 6th and 7th. We open the doors about 8:30, and it goes to about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. It'll be at the Clarion Hotel on Congress Street in Portland, Maine. You can find our website. We have info at starbornsupport.com. And there's an Experiencers Speak page there, or you can go directly to the Experiencers Speak website, which you'll find the information on starbornsupport.com.
Great.
Our speakers this year are Stanton Friedman, Steve Bassett, Kathy Martin, Denise Stoner, Jim Weiner, Thomas Reed, Linda Cotilli, William Konkoleski, Ray Hernandez, David Chase, Mike Cleland, Debbie Tripp, Keith Andrews, Aaron Hicks, James Murray, Michael Austin Melton, and Nancy Duterte. Now, a lot of these names people are familiar with. We've got just a powerhouse of people coming in, and these people have amazing stories to tell, and there's covering basically every aspect of the abduction phenomenon, from the research and scientific aspect to the MyLab or MK Ultra and different military operations. So it's just a great place to come in and learn.
A lot of work.
It's something that has, this is the only conference of its kind right now. But there are people that are talking about doing this, because it is such a great thing that we're doing. You go to your average UFO conference and you hear about things that happened 60 years ago still today. It's like, okay. And then there's all, of course, they're all skeptics and debunking, and it's the same thing. This is a totally different conference. So
sounds refreshing,
enlightening, and educational, and talking about things that are happening now and continuing. So and there's so many people that are experiencers that are scared to come out and talk about it. And a lot of people are in relationships where their spouse doesn't understand it. So we've had many people come up to us after the conference and thank us because their spouse understood more, and I think that's just an amazing thing to be doing is teaching people.
Well,
a lot of the stuff that people know about abduction is just what they've been told by, the other side that wants to instill fear and wants you to be terrified and wants you to believe that these beings are here to harm us, and that's just not the case. Not all of them are.
Not all of them. Yep.
Well, it's definitely good work you are doing. And unfortunately, we are completely out of time now, Audrey.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, and I'd love to come back anytime, and Deb's always around, too, so...
Yes, and please tell Deb that we hope she's feeling better.
We sure
do. I will, and if you guys can come up to the conference, come on out and join us. It'll be a good time.
We're going to make it.
Yeah, we're going to give it our best try.
We'll see you there.
All right, Audrey. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Audrey.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
And I guess that takes care of our time for tonight on Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience.
Another interesting night. Well, thank you, and thank you for listening, and good night, everyone.
Programming on Portsmouth Community Radio is brought to you by our members and by Davies Tire, providing professional auto repair and a full line of Nokian tires, with 2 locations to serve you, Islington Street and Banfield Road in Portsmouth. Discounts available online at daviestire.com. Davies Tire keeps you rolling right.